Dr. Kaustubh, you can switch on your video as all the panelists have joined.
Hello. Welcome, Poini ma'am. Welcome, Sohit. Welcome, Rohan. And welcome, Samir. How are you all?
Good morning.
Thanks.
Hi.
Thanks.
Good morning.
Hi. Good morning.
Hi,
Hi.
good morning.
Thank you.
Yeah. In a minute, I think it's 11:13. We'll go live. Thanks for coming. So, generally, how are you, Poini ma'am? After some time.
Very well, thank you. And I see Mr. Ramanan still here. It was wonderful as usual, Mr. Ramanan, to
Absolutely.
listen to you as usual.
Yes. Very inspirational.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, I don't think I have met my colleagues here. Sohit, Samir, Rohan. Morning to you all.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Hi. Morning.
Pleasure to connect with you all.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Wonderful to have you all here.
Thanks, Kaustubh.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm quite a odd person out here, not in terms of gender, but like I'm not from startup. All of you are from
Oh.
startups. So
You are from the hub of the startups.
You are the mother of all of them.
looking forward to listening to your impact stories. Yeah.
You have taken my statement out before the introduction.
Sorry to still happen. Yeah.
Just have about a few seconds. Yeah, let's go live. Yeah, we're going live now. All right. So, welcome everybody to this session on startups, the drivers of innovation and value. What does innovation mean in the Indian context? What does value mean in the Indian context? Is innovation only about creating new products? It's much more than that, right? In our country, it's about creating better access at the last mile. It's about making stuff more affordable. How can we ensure proper governance? How can we create a more equitable society, etc., and the list would go on. As Dr. Mashelkar would say, create more from less. So that's going to be the theme for this discussion. And for this, we have 4 eminent panelists here, 3 entrepreneurs who are living this spirit of innovation and value creation. And the 4th is the mother of them all, who helps startups achieve their dreams and create value for society. So let me introduce all of you, all the panelists. Let me introduce the mother of them all, the first, Madam Poini Bhatt, the Chief Executive Officer of SIGN, the incubator at IIT Bombay, Society for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Madam Bhatt is the founding member and the Chief Executive Officer of SIGN, the Technology Business Incubator at IIT Bombay. She's been involved in more than 200 startups supported by SIGN since 2004 and actively mentoring startups and innovators outside SIGN as well. She has handled several collaborative international programs for innovators and entrepreneurs. Most recently with Switzerland and Canada, startups supported by SIGN have collectively raised approximately $600 million with a collective valuation of $2.48, $2.5 billion. SIGN also has a few unicorns in their portfolio. Prior to SIGN, Poini ma'am has had corporate experience of over a decade in manufacturing and the investment banking sectors. She's a member of several committees of government, trade and trade associations for innovation, entrepreneurship, and incubation, and also a member on the boards of several incubators. A warm welcome, ma'am, to the panel.
Thank you.
Now, let me introduce Mr. Sohit Kapoor, founder of Driefcase, spelled as DR Capital and IEFCAS in lower caps. An ex-investment banker with Merrill Lynch, Sohit is the founder of Driefcase, where the mission is to use longitudinal healthcare data to keep various stakeholders get better control on their respective health journeys. As all of us know, the government of India has launched the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, ABDM, the India Health Stack. So it actually helped design the ABDM framework, providing a unique user perspective, making the framework more patient-centric. Driefcase is the first B2C platform to be certified by ABDM. That's a great achievement. Driefcase will soon be the patient's gateway to ABDM, something similar to what Google Pay has been for UPI. Having spent more than 5 years building Driefcase, he's passionate about building companies that leverage technology and data to solve complex customer problems and create meaningful experiences. Prior to Driefcase, Sohit led corporate finance and financial sponsor teams for Merrill Lynch investment banking in India. During an 11-year stint, he advised top Indian and global corporations and several marquee M&As, private equity and capital raising transactions accumulating to over $20 billion. He was a part of multiple SEBI committees developing the framework for new regulations. Sohit is a computer engineer from Mumbai University and an MBA from IIM Bangalore. Welcome, Sohit.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here.
Let me now have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Samir Chaudhary, co-founder of Media Ant. Samir has been a marketing person throughout his career with leadership qualities. After his engineering, he did his MBA at IIM Bangalore and worked with Reckitt, Redbus, and Britannia before he co-founded Media Ant. Samir's mantra for startups is make something that people want. He also says that it is easier to start with a niche, master that market, and then expand into the broader market. It's very important to keep experimenting till you find a good product market fit. His life mantra, do what you enjoy doing, and his tip for success, believe in your dream and in your team. Welcome, Samir. Nice to have you here on this panel.
Thanks for the warm and nice introduction.
Welcome. The fourth panelist is Mr. Rohan Chaudhary, co-founder and director, SAR Cellulabs Private Limited and SAR Diagnostics Private Limited. He's a B.Pharm from Guru Nanak Institute of Pharmaceutical Science and Technology, postgraduate from FIM Bangalore. He is a certified digital marketer from Google, an innovation award winner for brand Mycord from the Indian Society of Cellular Therapy, and many more awards, many more citations. A marketing professional with a passion for creating and building brands, an experienced sales trainer, a well-rounded work experience for over 10 plus years spanning category and brand management, P&L management, strategic planning, product innovation, consumer insights, and business development across the healthcare and FMCG sectors. He quit his professional career in 2020 to start his entrepreneurial journey by starting SAR Cellulabs Private Limited and SAR Diagnostics Private Limited. And most importantly, students remember, he lived that journey with two professional colleagues by co-founding a private limited company with 2 lakhs as loan, which has grown to 15 crores turnover within a span of 2 years. Welcome, Rohan.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the brief
So,
description for me.
so we have a power-packed panel here, and all of you are going to get tremendous insight, students, from their discussions. As I said, let us start with the mother of them all first, her experiences of helping all these people live their dreams, right? So the pattern that we'll follow is, about 12 to 15 minutes per speaker. In the meanwhile, students will kind of upload some questions in the chat window. I will also have some questions, and let's have it as a freewheeling conversation rather than a watertight 10-15 minute kind of a thing. So even if if you feel when a panelist is, somebody else is making a point, and if you feel you want to add something there, you're most welcome to do it. I hope the others wouldn't mind. So let's keep it as conversational and interactive as possible. All right. Over to you, ma'am, Poini ma'am, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kaustubh. It's really nice to be here. And then I joined about 10-15 minutes back, and I was listening to Mr. Raman, and when he speaks, the whole environment is very charged up. And being part of this panel with colleagues who are entrepreneurs, who are representing, the entire startup, basically, what I would say, ecosystem here. Yeah, I don't think you really need to debate the, or you really need to go beyond this, that like startups, but they are driver for innovations and entrepreneurship, whether there is, value, innovation, value, technology, so on and so forth. So there's no debate about it. We all are really excited about startup, yeah. I started this journey in entrepreneurship world maybe about 2 decades back, 18 years back to be very precise. The milieu was very, very different at that time. You talk about 18 years back, no investor, no angels, no corporate engaging with startups. Startup by themselves were very minimal. There were no role models in startup ecosystem. And less than 2 decades, if you really look at it, we are third largest startup nation globally. Yeah. Bangalore became the third largest city to have attracted, third largest basically startup capital invested in Bangalore-based startups. Yeah. $42 billion alone got invested last year. Yeah. That is in 2021. So tremendous confidence and tremendous buzz around startup that is happening. And let me tell you, this is not really a bubble. Though much of the fundraising has got in growth capital, and maybe small number of startups, but you also see now startup in very, very different space, not only aggregation or e-commerce kind of space, but you see startup in automotive, manufacturing technology, long gestation period, like healthcare or space tech, defense, those kind of, space which were unheard of in the past, clean tech and everything. Yeah. So there's lots and lots of basically, activities are happening there. They all are driving innovations. They are leveraging technologies to scale themselves, generating IPs, getting funded round after round. Some are becoming unicorns. Some are going to basically IPOs, providing exit, wealth creation for their investor, employees, so on and so forth. Yeah. It's not about, look at the global picture. Top US market capitalization, the company that drives the market capitalization, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, yeah, Apple. Yeah, these are top 5-6 companies. They all were startup at one point of time. Yeah. Not only they have generated value for their investors, but they have actually made the world, each of us, captive in their realm technologies. Yeah, they have changed our behavior, they have changed our way of functioning, like humongous impact just by leveraging technologies and innovation. Yeah. Uh, Mr. Ramanan talk about digital transformation, right? And those who are born in my generation or maybe decade ahead of me or after us, we have actually witnessed the change, the way change, the way we operate or transact our activities. It has changed the life. It has disrupted the traditional mode of functioning, the way we access information. Yeah. Olden days, you go to library, you read newspaper, you read magazines. Yeah. And most of them comes as a historic information, maybe like, one day older to many years older kind of thing, right? Today, we access information almost on real-time basis. Our first touch point is maybe online information, internet, and then we drive like, in physical books and all those stuff. The way we communicate, yeah, internet or smartphones, they leverage like and it's like never before. Like maybe internet and smartphones are basically, I would say game from the large corporates, but the whole ecosystem or the whole technology and tools that are basically installed on those smartphones, which make the phone smart, let me put this way, they are driven by startups. Yeah. The way we travel, like, none of us stand in queue to book ticket, whether it is a bus travel or train travel, or we don't use even agent to book our air ticket. Everything is online. Yeah. Even like, taxi or bikes, everything at a click of our, you know, uh, phone basically. And we have Ola, Uber coming, the way we eat, the way our buying consumption, basically, pattern is driven completely online, right from grocery to vegetable to what we wear, like, shoes, clothing, specs, chashma, anything you talk about, pretty much whatever you say, like, it's online. And list can go on and on, like, the way we learn, the way we operate, or banking, and so on and so forth. These most of these disruptions are actually led by startups, and in the process, as an end consumer, how does it work? Like, we get ease of operations. Yeah, much of our like transactions are economical, cost effective. It saves times for us. Yeah, most importantly, it also bridges the divide between urban and rural, rich and poor. Like, my vegetable vendor, when I give them cash, they said Google Pay karo ya Paytm karo. Yeah. This is what is enabled by startup. Let me put this way. So it actually divides, it bridges the gap actually. And also gives through so many competition out there, so quality is ensured here. Yeah. And this talking about kind of a online or e-commerce, which is enabled by online or e-commerce or aggregation economy. But let me also share 3 examples from different space, which actually have physical product and how they have changed the, they made impact in their respective domains. Defense, retail, healthcare. These are the 3 stories I'm going to share with you. Yeah, and they all are Indian companies. They are doing something which is never done in India by any corporate or startup before them. Yeah. And this is a very unique story, like, which builds lots of confidence in our ecosystem. So I don't know any one of you have heard the name of Idea Forge. Idea Forge is a defense company. They make defense surveillance drones. Drone as surveillance or unmanned aerial vehicle as surveillance is very common these days, but not in like, late 2000 or early 2010s kind of thing. Yeah. The company was incorporated in 2000, I think in 2009, so just 12 or 13 years old company. It was set up by young graduates, very, very recent graduates from IIT Bombay. Yeah. Started with some different product and pivoted to this defense product. When you are a startup and you deal with a, government sector or defense sector as your customer, I don't think you are going to get invested money. Yeah, ask any investor. Investors' confidence in government as a customer is not really very significant because it's a very complex market actually. These boys managed to raise some small money, made drone, which is unmatched. And I'm telling you, it is unmatched globally in their category of drone. Yeah. They can fly in higher altitude of Ladakh. It weighs around just 6 or 7 kg. And look at the wing and harsh environment that at that level altitude, right? Remains stable, sends out input, analytical input, to the defense forces on all the borders, like on the northern and eastern borders. And now this is the company which delivered $20 million worth order in a single year. Yeah. And just to give you an impact, yeah, their drone or their vehicle flies every 6 minutes in the country daily, giving out live surveillance input to the defense authority on real-time basis and on real-time view. So it's a color view with all analysis, basically they are giving it. Amazing company. They got now, just because of their execution, they got the investors, market investors like Infosys and like WRVI. So all global investors are lining up and now defense is placing another large order with them. Yeah. Amazing story of, young graduate from a company just 20 years old. And defense, I'm talking about government as a segment. Yeah. Second story that I would like to share basically is in a retail segment. Very simple product, very, very general category. It's an electric appliance company. The company's name is Atomberg. Atomberg makes Gorilla fans. Yeah. Fan pe company kaun banata hai? If you really look at it, that would be the reaction. Yeah. Majority market. Again, these are young graduates from IIT Bombay. Majority market basically is governed or it was governed. In fact, it was predominantly basically, captured by Crompton Greaves and Bajaj kind of people. And these are the boys, saw this opportunity. And what was the opportunity? In fan segment, there's no innovation in last 50 years. Ever since there were not 50 years, no single innovations, right? Fans are installed pretty much in every household. Yeah. Every commercial establishment. Yeah. And each fan, I think it consumes about the 75 to 80 watts kind of thing. They saw an opportunity to actually introduce some disruptive technology to save energy. Yeah, energy consumption. They made a fan which on wall saves energy up to 60%. Yeah, their fan costs somewhat on higher side, but ROI is just less than 1 year. Yeah. Imagine a company in a fan. I'm telling you, it's not easy to make enter in this space, and now Gorilla fan, I don't think it's a household name, but I'm sure it's on its way of becoming a household name, really giving large corporate run for their money. If you really look at it, the company again is funded by large investors, celebrity investors like Deepika Padukone, family funds, and so on and so forth. This is another thing, very impacting every common person and doing very, very impactful of energy saving. Yeah. Third story, it is a science. based company, really deep tech. In fact, all three are deep tech companies, yeah. But it's a science-based company in healthcare space. The company's name is Immunact. The company is just 3 years old. Yeah, it's less than 3 years. In fact, it got spun out again from IT Bomb. So I'm giving you only local stories because I deal with incubator and I would really like to share stories of our incubators here. So this is the company. It is in area of cancer therapy. Yeah, when you talk about cancer, we have typically we heard these words of radiation or chemotherapy and so on and so forth, right? There's third therapy that which is now coming in the market. It is already there in the US. Novartis and Gilead kind of large pharma companies have introduced. It's called immunotherapy. So the science behind or engineering behind is that you take out the cancerous cell, you bioengineer them, you again infuse them in the body, and this bioengineered cell will immunize growth of cancer cells. Yeah. The therapy, which is not available in India as of now, it's available only in the US and perhaps few countries in Europe. And therapy costs anything between 2 to 3 crore. Beyond of any middle class, means. Yeah. This is the company developed that therapy. Yeah. They are the first company in India to have got regulatory permission to perform human trial. They are doing human trial as of now. I understand they are already performing human trials on about 10 patients or so. Extremely positive outcome. They're still doing human trials, so I cannot say much about it. But what I understand is that early indications are very positive here. Yeah. Even they got synergistic funding out there. But the key thing is that it's a domestic technology, indigenous technology, and the aim is to basically bring out this therapy at the cost of 15 to 20 lakhs per patient. Yeah. Here is these are the startup stories basically who are generating value, wealth, but most importantly, they are changing the society. For if you really look at it, startup, they drive innovation, they drive technology, they generate employment, they generate wealth, they create smart workforce, yeah, who perhaps could become next generation of entrepreneurship. And most importantly, they change the perception of the country or a nation, which is happening for India as of now. I think I'll stop here. Happy to converse more. Thank you very much. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Thank you, ma'am. Very inspirational stories. And she has so many more. She's restricted them to 3, and she hasn't used her 15 minutes. So I'll come back to you later. I think the drone that you were referring to is the one that we saw in 3 Idiots. Is that IdeaForge?
Yes. Very much.
Yes. And wonderful. I mean, 3 different triggers for innovation with these 3 companies. One trying to save energy, one trying to bring the costs down, and the other trying to enhance the surveillance capability. So opportunities lie everywhere. With that, I would invite Rohan to speak.
Yeah. So just 1 second. Sorry, Rohan, before you start. So this is one thing, but I think this is also a story of Atmanirbhar before this term was introduced in the country. So I'll stop now.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Thank you very much for calling me into this eminent panel discussion. Hello.
Carry on. There was a slight echo, but
So,
now...
according to me, the drivers for innovation is basically the 3 things, to be precise. if you see from an entrepreneur's point of view, it's a problem, identifying a problem which is there into the market, constraints that identifying them, that why these people are not solving that, those who are having a big resources, they're not resolving that. So identify a problem and having a constraint. And third thing is, if you start it, then it's an opportunity for you. So exactly what happened for me in SAR is basically
Rohan, I think your voice
there is a
is,
three colleagues of mine.
Rohan, your streaming is extremely choppy. Maybe you could switch off your video, then the audio might come better, possibly. Yeah, just try now.
Am I audible now?
Much better. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, what I am saying is we are having three major ideas for an innovation to, in my view, to identifying a problem which is nobody is solving it. And then you go into what are the constraints that everyone is not solving it. And because people are the companies, the existing companies are very big with big resources. They are not resolving it. So there is an opportunity for an entrepreneur to start its journey. That's exactly what happened for me in SAR. Basically in 2020, we three colleagues who left their job and thought like, we will start something. We started with what ma'am rightly told, biomedical engineering. So we have a background of stem cells in India. So what we thought like, we'll start something of our domain. But in 2020, when we started, within a month's time, there is a lockdown. The national lockdown came up and everything shut down. Whatever we started, we invested something. The government told that industry is the secondary healthcare. You need not to focus at this point of time. So what we came up of during the lockdown, we found there is a RT-PCR test which is going on, and companies who are the existing or the big companies like Hymedia, Thermo Fisher and all are the only supplier for those raw materials of the RT-PCR kits. Could you imagine that time a person is actually paying 4,500 rupees for a single RT-PCR test? Because everything from the swab, from the collection kit to the test material, everything was actually coming from we are importing everything. There is not even a single thing was manufactured in India. So only for that collection tube, and the two swabs from where you get the collection from your nose and your mouth, that is actually costing around 250 rupees for a customer or for a testing person. Right now, with the innovation or when the people, Indian companies started manufacturing it, it comes to 10 rupees now. So you can understand what kind of margin was there with them. And that's the opportunity what we thought during this lockdown, that this thing we can come up. So started our journey. There are many barrier regulation. As you know, healthcare is having a lot of barriers for the entrepreneurs to start their journey. First is regulatory. There, if you have for example, in our case, if we passed from ICMR NIV for our product, I need to wait for 6 months to launch a product into the market. That is the biggest problem what in our sector a person or the entrepreneurs are facing. Second thing is, in this organization, if you see, a lot of opportunities there, which we have seen. We when we are actually manufacturing this kind of kits, from 4,500, the tests are now done by everyone is 300 rupees or 400 rupees. It was not an easy, because for a startup, you need an ecosystem to help you out. Maybe for us, the opportunity or the problem, I rightly told there's a problem, and we taken that opportunity to solve it. So SAR is started from a city called Gurgaon, and it's basically a hub of all the diagnostic centers or the diagnostic chains in India. If you talk about all the big names are present in Gurgaon or Delhi. So the day what we faced, or the nation faced, every day there is around millions of tests are happening, millions and millions, and people doesn't have that raw materials with them to actually do that. So what ecosystem given us a constant growth path for this, for our business, and that is basically helped us to bring our business down. So in my point of view, you need an ecosystem to start any kind of business to be there, because it's very difficult for a consumer to change its habit or change something which he was not doing. He always asks a question that, why should I pay you for this? For example, we started a medical testing thing in Kerala with government of Kerala. We are associated with Sandor Diagnostics, and we have a mobile vans moving across the state of Kerala. So you need not to go to any lab. The lab is coming to your home for RT-PCR test, basically. And it is completely funded by government of Kerala. That case, if you see, people that time also asking why I need to do it. If you are getting something free also, it's very hard for us to actually motivate the people or incentivize the people that, yes, you do this, this is something good for you. So those things, if you see, so these are small experience. Might be I'm having a very small experience in my entrepreneurial journey. So I might say something which can offend someone. So I'm extremely sorry for that. And
Please go ahead. Don't feel shy about anything. Just go on.
Yeah.
Because you want to tell the real story to all our students, right? So
Yeah, startup, I think just to tell you, Rohan, like entrepreneurs, one of the role is to offend others because they are disruptors. So don't worry, go ahead.
and
yeah. So thank you. So this was what we have started. Now, next point where for last 10 years, I am working into or all of our 3 members are actually working into a segment of women and child or mother and child segment. So all my brands or all my companies are working with closely with the women and child segment. And in medical fraternity, or if you see in the healthcare business, there is only one business where, or the one clientele, if you want to say, are very loyal to you, is the mother and child segment for any business. Because for example, if you are going for a testing or for a doctor, even the gynecologists who are seeing the ladies or the pregnant ladies, they are actually having the most loyal customers with them, because during their cycle of pregnancy, 9 months, a customer is always there with that doctor. So in that case, we thought we need to come up with a diagnostic chain which completely focus on the mother and child segment. Now, there is no one in the country right now who are actually focusing on mother and child. Hardly one or two players who are having a mother and child experience in different segment first. They are now starting. If you, and it's a very big ecosystem. If you see the mother and child segment, every mother is, or the every family, if you see, yearly spent around 50,000 rupees on their testings, on their apparels, on their nutritious foods or something. It's a use of one household. And the birth rate of the country is around 2.6 or 26 million, 2.6 crore a year. Out of which, if I calculate only the urban population who are having a more than 50,000 income per month, that population is almost 20% or maybe 25% of it, which is a very big industry if you concentrate on that. So that, based on those insights, what we are having in our past experience, we came up with this industry and started the diagnostics. The reason behind, it's a, you can say it's a forward integration of SAR Cellulabs, what we have started, right? Because SAR Cellulabs produce the products which helps for the testing needs, starting from the swabs, the syringes, all those things. And diagnostics is diagnosing that person. So we came into that business, and hopefully we have found something key. You can add value into it, because people are charged very huge for their small needs. So why not we come up with a business, or we come up with a solution which will be affordable to everyone and a quality product. If I talk about the quality, for us, what we have always maintained, despite into the, we came from 250 rupees to 10 rupees product, we are now providing kits to all leading diagnostic chains, governments, and we are in verge of exports also. Our quality was established because we are the supplier from one of the supplier, or only one supplier you can see, from World Health Organization. WHO is buying the products from us. For South Africa, for other places, we need to give it to the Indian part of the WHO, and they are now supplying. So we might not know the actual which are the countries are actually taking from there. So this quality we have maintained. And if you ask anywhere that about the products, because what our thought or all our founders thought was, If first product during this pandemic, if our business partners are using it, they will be using all our products. Lastly, based on those initiatives, we already got an opportunity to work with Harvard Medical School for a project for a project on the tuberculosis, which is a grant which we have received. So those are something which we never thought will happen in 2 years' time. It might be a destiny, or maybe our complete team's hard work and day and night, whatever we have done. So based on that, what we have achieved, because starting a company and reaching where we are now, it's almost looking like it's a dream. Because if you look back, these things happen because we are an employees. We doesn't have any capital with us. We never have resources. But one thing we have, for 10 years when we are working, we have the connects with us. And that actually helped us, because if you see, when you need raw materials a lot when you are actually using it to other people, this kind of volume. Our vendors came up to help, and basically that journey taken forward. So that's it, what I need to say.
Fantastic, Rohan. Very inspirational journey. Just a few points that I picked up from you, that adversity need not bog you down. There is an opportunity everywhere. And what I liked about the fact is that you had a solution of kind of solution providers approach. Rather than trying to sell a product, you were trying to sell a solution, especially with that example of the mother and child. Understanding the whole journey, identifying the touch points, where there is an opportunity, and then going in there. Wonderful. Thanks for sharing. We'll come back to you with, there are lots of questions coming in from the viewers. Now, there are two more panelists. One is into healthcare and one is into media. I would like to break the journey of the healthcare and go to the media person. So I would like you to, Sohit, I'll come to you later. Otherwise, healthcare dominated ho jayega conversation. So let's bring in the media and the creative guys into the whole thing. So Samir, over to you.
Thanks, Kaustubh. I think like such a large causes of that these guys have taken up on the healthcare, I think media becomes a much smaller thing to discuss. But nevertheless, I think I'll try to keep it entertaining here. So I think the brief that was shared with us, and then what we expected to tell the students is a bit about startup journey. So I'll try to just share a few pointers on how do people typically get into startups. I think one of the questions that everyone is struggling with, a lot of peer pressure, and Shark Tank adds to that pressure, saying that why are you not an entrepreneur? Either you should be a judge or should be participating, you know. So those kind of things. I meet a lot of guys who are either students or working and saying that कुछ करना है लेकिन क्या करना है नहीं पता. I want to do some startup, right? So I think I'll try to share with you guys like few pointers on how you can decide into it, and then I'll get into my the media and journey. So if you look at if I have to put a framework, right, around what kind of startups, or what people should do in startups, right? There are three broad areas which actually drive people to do like start anything. Either it can be your past skill sets, right? Someone who has been a doctor would want to start a hospital, and as simple as that. Someone who has been a tech guy would want to build an app. The second can be a cause, right? I want to pick up a cause. You have no relation. You want to do something about kids' welfare. You want to do something about people health. That can be a cause. You learn everything. And the third is an opportunity, right? That's another big area. Right? A lot of things happening in delivery space. Dunzo is delivering, Blinkit is delivering, Zepto is delivering. Let me also get into that space. Everyone is eating food. I have no cause to it. I really don't have a big cause to go and feed these middle class and rich 50 million households more food, but it's a good big opportunity. So these are one of the three areas, which is basically cause, skill, and opportunity, which drives people and help people pick what they want to do in the startup. In many cases, and most of the successful cases, you will see all three or at least two of them converging together. Right? So, like, let's say one of the best examples of Facebook, right? It was a big opportunity. It was a cause also where they wanted to connect people, and they had the skills on the tech side, right? All three of them came together, right? So I think when you put all of these things, that's where the magic starts happening. So if you look at I'll use the same framework to share how the Media Ant came up, right? So this was, I was working in Reckitt at that time, and I was heading a few of their brands for the US market. And that was a time when the startup boom had just started in India. Flipkart had come up, and Redbus, and there were a few of these guys who had come up in India. And me sitting in US, I was like one of the most of the students who are there right now listening to us, saying that I don't want to miss this bus. It's cool. Like, I didn't know anything about it. What is actually a startup? But I knew that this is something which is interesting, and I don't want to be sitting on the fence and later say I wish I was a part of it. So I came back to India without a job. I had nothing to look forward to, and then I just started chatting with people, and bus ticketing became one of, like, Redbus was there in Bangalore. I had to come. I had to come back to Bangalore because my wife was from here, and we had a house here to stay. And Redbus came up as an idea at that time. And I remember having this conversation with my parents, saying, and I'm from Bihar, a very, very conservative society where if you're not an IAS engineer or a doctor, you are probably have not done well in your life. Right? So I had become an engineer. So that part was checked. And first shocker I gave to my parents was when I said I don't want to work with Tata anymore. I joined Tata Steel out of campus and said I don't want to join to Tata anymore, and I want to do an MBA. They said, IAS karta to samajh sakte the, why do you want to go for an MBA and leave Tata, right? And that to Tata Steel. But I took that jump, and there's a second jump, which was actually a big shocker. Because ticket ka agent hi karega. I still remember those words, right? And if you remember, like in these small towns, right, you have these ticket agents sitting at the bus stands, right? They sell tickets to you. And I had no other way to explain that idea to my parents, saying that I will be selling bus tickets. I was saying, yahi karna tha to itna padhai kyun kiya? You could have done it easily anywhere. And that's where I said, no, this is a tech enabled. I tried to explain to them. Honestly, they didn't understand much. Paisa mil raha hai kya? I said, paisa bhi nahi mil raha hai. So what do you get? I said, no, I'm getting equity. So they said, I think there's something wrong with this child. Let's anyway go ahead. So I came and joined Redbus. I worked there for almost 2 years. And that's when the exit started happening. And then I moved on. So for a short stint, I was in Britannia. But during Redbus, something very interesting happened. First of all, this ecosystem I saw thriving, right? It was very, very different from what I had been doing earlier. Earlier was good fun, like large corporates, structured learning, brand names. You learn from best in the class, right? That was one good thing there, right? But again, it had the issues of what comes with scale. It becomes slower. There are processes to be followed. The innovation takes time. And Redbus was exactly opposite, right? Every night you will have a new idea to execute, and you will dump it by the evening, right? So it was that fast pace, right? Every one, like we had, if we evaluate on the basis of ideas, I think would have been more valuable than Apple today. So you just keep generating ideas. That's what startup was, and exactly opposite to what you had in corporate world, right? But it was good fun. And you started working with a lot of constraints. I think we never had constraints when we were large. We had constraints, but the larger constraint. You have 100 million to spend. I think that was my constraint, and I had planned only to spend 80 million. 20 million, I still had to figure out how to spend in a right manner. Here, the thing is, I had ideas for 1 billion, and I had not even a million in the bank. So one of the things happened there was when we started doing advertising. We said, let's put a few hoardings near the large bus stands in the country. So we picked up Coimbatore in Chennai, we picked up Kormangla in Bangalore, in Dhalakua in Delhi. And we said, let's put up hoardings. Now, the idea was great. At night, someone came up with this idea. We said, let's go ahead now and execute. And next day morning, I'm figuring out like it's good to start, but now what? Now what? The dog has reached the car, and there's nothing I can do beyond this. So then Just Dial was the only savior, and Google, right? So started looking for searching hoarding vendors in Delhi, hoarding vendors in Chennai. We found few names. I started calling them up. Language problem. Many of them did not understand our language, my language, and I couldn't understand their language. The whatever they were giving me, I had no idea what was right. Or someone said it will cost you 1 lakh rupees. Someone will say it will cost you 10,000 rupees. Everyone claimed to be the owner of that particular billboard, right? And the data became a big challenge. And we actually had to drop that idea, because for 7 days I was just calling up people, and one day I'll get one rate, and the second day the guy will not pick the call. Right? And we had to drop that idea, and that was the first time when I realized how a lack and easy access of data can actually inhibit experiments. And if you're not experimenting, you cannot be in a startup for sure. So that passed. We figured a way to do it. All that happened, and then I moved out of Redbus, and then again I joined Britannia for some time. But then I realized again, this is not my calling. I have to go back to that ecosystem. And here, again, I went back to my old framework, saying, how do I look at startups, right? So is there a skill set? Is there an opportunity? Is there a cause? So I think I had that time all three of this, because I wanted to help the startups in the country. Being in marketing in Redbus, which had an exit, I used to get calls from startups almost every day saying, I want to do this, Amir, can you help me connect with the right guy? And I was doing it, and I knew that these people need help. Skill wise, I knew, because I had been sales and marketing all my life. And then there was certainly an opportunity, because this number of startups every day was almost doubling. So me with another colleague of mine from Redbus, we said, let's do something cool. And I had always been fascinated by Craigslist in US. Craigslist, for unknown, it's basically a listing site. And it has one of the poorest UI that you can see in the entire world. It's just lines, that's it. And it's one of the most useful site that people use. You can get right. So it worked well. So we said, let's create a Craigslist for media in India. Right? And it will be so cool. You will put up a listing, people will come, and then they will connect. So that was the initial idea. So we got some information from existing vendors. So we reached out to, let's say, Star TV, we reached out to Google, we reached out to these hoarding guys, and we collected the information and basic information. This is the location, this is the cost, and we put up the listing. And this was time when the Social Network movie also was coming up, where there was this very cool countdown where everyone is sitting in this room and you see the number of followers going up. And that was like a thing to do. So we also sat there, and every day we didn't have that fast pace thing happening, but every day we'll see the traffic going up and up and up. And that was like, that gave us a kick. Almost 3 months passed by doing this. And then after 3 months, we started getting calls from people saying that, hey guys, you connected me. I found this number from Media, and I called up the guy. The guy said, "Kaun hai Media?" And we don't know. Whatever rate they have given, if they have given, go and talk to them. We don't know them. This rate is not right. So those guys were disappointed. Many of the vendors started calling up. Let's say a Star Plus example, not Star exactly, but someone called up, and those guys were like, hey guys, you have put up this information. We're getting so many calls, random calls. Everyone wants to talk to us. These guys have no money, nothing, no plan, and they're just wasting our time. Can you remove us from your site, because you are not adding any value? So we had a successful idea, pissed customers, pissed suppliers. And 3 months later, we sat and say, what will we do in our lives? Because we haven't made any money in the last 3 months. I think whatever money we made from the exit, I think it's not going to survive. Like, it's not going to take us through our entire life, right? And at home, people started asking, like, that was time when I actually started going back to my parents and asking for money for petrol and for food, right? They were like, we did not raise you for this. I think that you have to figure out how to make some money. So all three stakeholders were unhappy. So it was a good example of where there's a good idea, good traction, but useless. And that's where the first mantra of Kaustubh, which you mentioned, saying that make something which is useful for people. And we started figuring out what is useful here, right? And we talked to a few people, also use our judgment at that time. And what we figured was connecting is not the solution in a market which is so fragmented, unstructured, unrated. So we, at this stage, what we did was we started collecting the demands from the advertisers. So let's say when you come and you say you want to advertise on YouTube, or checking the rates on YouTube, I will buy media space on your behalf from YouTube. So here the customer was happy. Whatever rate Media Ant is giving, actually I'm getting at it. So I'll say if this hoarding costs you 10,000 rupees in FC Road on Pune, actually I would buy it from you at that price. So the advertisers were getting trust, saying that, okay, this makes sense. Now, if I go to Media and I know what the price is, I'll use it as a benchmark and they will also help me buy it. So I was completing the loop on the advertiser side. The vendors were happy because I was getting them incremental business. Till now, they were getting squeezed by these large agencies and large brands where they will make them sit for hours outside and then just negotiate on pricing everything. So they were happy they were getting incremental business. And what we would do as middlemen, we would make money. So I'll buy at 100, I'll sell it 110. So we were also happy, saying that, okay, now all the entire ecosystem was actually helping. So in this, so then actually Redbus idea, the Media and idea actually started taking its real shape, where you have the various stakeholders, which we're doing, right. And the biggest advantage that came in was the ecosystem. I think there is no stronger force than the market force. You can be a brilliant idea, you can have all the investor money, everything. If the market forces are not taking along with you, there is very little that you can do about it. But this was a time when internet penetration started improving, startup world started coming up. Media moved towards digital a lot. So we sort of became an expert, or at least an equivalent to any other guy. So earlier, like say, when you come to print, I had a disadvantage because there were guys who have been selling print for the last 80 years, and there's some fresh kid on the block selling it now, right? So we had the disadvantage, but when we moved to digital, everyone was like on equal footing, right? No one knew what was happening there, right? Every day you have one new media coming up. Google making changes almost overnight in their algorithm, Facebook coming up, Twitter, Quora, then you have this sort of Hotstars and everything came up. So we sort of became, so in the terms of skills and knowledge, it gave us parity. And the new set of advertisers, they were very, very happy to use online platforms. They did not really like this thing of setting up meetings, traveling half an hour, and then first discussing how are you, and then about discussing weather and families, and then they were like, give me the information, I'll figure out what to do. Very hands-on guys. So I think those things came into the ecosystem well and helped us grow. And then COVID happened, right? Again, how an adverse situation or a condition can still help you. So what happened, many of the physical, so when you're buying media, you have only two choices. You can buy it from media or you can buy from an offline guy. Now, because of COVID, what happened was that the offline system got disrupted big time. And a lot of people then started shifting towards the online system. That helped us move on getting a lot of traction. Because we started handling volume, we started investing more and more in tech using automation, because we knew, so just to give you some data, from about 100,000 to 200,000 visitors on the site, we moved to about 1 million visitors on the site, right? You cannot possibly service the same set of people using your existing system. So we built in a lot of automation. So we started figuring out where there was a manual intervention and how can we use tech to bring it down. And that's a continuous process. So if you see today, media and what has happened is what it was earlier, which was a pure data, like a Wikipedia for media. Now it has become like a sort of an Amazon for media, where you can come and buy media. So moving towards a complete e-commerce space. I think so. That is more or less the story of how Media Ant came up, and how did the market forces help us, and we kept evolving to be in line just to ride that wave. So I think anyone who's looking to get into a startup or start of their own, uh, it's important to just be in the game, because market forces, there's not much that you can do about. Just be in the game, be consistent as long as you are enjoying it. And there would be times when this wave will just take you to the next level. So I think that's pretty much what I have for the students to share.
Thanks, Samir, for sharing your journey. I mean, it's a classic case of falling and getting up again and having the perseverance to do it. Believing in what you do, trying it out, most importantly, trying it out at a small scale and learning the lessons, typical agile kind of a method, typical lean startup or whatever you call it, that iterative process. And I think it's one more undercurrent that you mentioned was you don't get the product market fit right on day one. You need to keep on trying it. I mean, that's an important thing, because most of the time in B schools, everybody talks about product market fit, and students get a wrong idea that they will have product market fit on day one. And when they don't get it, they are very disappointed. They come back to us saying, "Oh, sir, you talked about this and this is not happening in real time. What do I do?" Some people get dejected. So that's where incubators and people like Madam Poini, Madam come into the picture, who kind of have patience to deal with these people and tell them, "Baba, ho jayega, well, don't worry," and create that ecosystem. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, let's go to Sohit. Yeah, over to Sohit. I'll just
Sure. So thanks a lot for tying it all together. I have taken a slightly different approach. I want to talk about not only the Briefcase journey, but a far larger impact that's being created right now, a far bigger change that the country is seeing. So with your permission, can I share a few slides? I just want
Sure. You are the host. You are a co-host, so you can do that. Yeah.
Great. Thanks everyone for your time. What I wanted to talk about, today was, as I said, a far bigger change that India is seeing. Yes, at Briefcase, we are a part of that change, and we'll cover that as we talk about our story. But I didn't want to miss this opportunity to kind of bring you all up to speed on what's happening in the healthcare front. Ma'am talked about a lot of examples of how life has become easy thanks to digitization. I wanted to start with actually using the examples she gave, but with a different twist. So I know she spoke about the innovative company in the end, but when she was talking about ease of living and how technology has improved the ease of living, I don't know how many of you noticed there was no example of healthcare. Let's go through some of the things she spoke about, or some of the things that are happening around us. How easy is it to get grocery delivered to home? How much time does it take? 10 minutes? You have multiple companies talking about that. But what happens when it comes to ambulances? Forget 10 minutes. Do you even get an ambulance at home when needed? Or what happens when you want to get it's easier to get a haircut done at home today than to get your blood pressure measured by a qualified technician or an injection administered. I'm sure we've all found our long lost friend on various social media channels. But when it comes to finding a blood donor, what's the process? How do you go about it? These are all real life situations that we've all been in. COVID has unfortunately brought some of this to the fore. Last example from my story, how easy is it to track your stock market portfolio? Multiple platforms give you multiple ways of doing it. But how do you track your father's diabetes, your mother's hypertension? It's still very, very challenging to do that. So, the fact remains that for a sector like healthcare, which is probably one of the most important aspects of your lives, the impact of digitization has been slow. It's a fact that we are all living in the country. It's largely true around the world as well. But India especially, where innovation and startup ecosystem has so very well developed over the last few years, healthcare has been slow to catch up. But that's all changing now. And that's what I want to talk about. This is all thanks to a mission called the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, or is now also being called the Unified Health Interface, UHI. So just a brief background about ABDM. It was first spoken about by the Honorable Prime Minister in his Independence Day speech in 2020. It was then called the National Digital Health Mission, NDHM, where he spoke about creating a framework, a healthcare ecosystem, which is one, digital, two, interoperable, and I'll talk about interoperability a lot as we progress, and three, standardized. So what does this mean to you? It means that your healthcare information, it means that healthcare services can seamlessly move across the ecosystem. So some of the examples I gave you on earlier page can come to life thanks to the ABDM. A question that comes often when you talk about ABDM, and we tend to talk a lot about it, is hoga kaise? How will you do it? You know, the market is so fragmented. There are about 1.5 million doctors in the country, about 70 odd thousand hospitals who are affiliated to some or the other insurance network, and so many other healthcare providers. So how will you achieve all of this? This is where the government has taken an open public infrastructure approach, an open digital ecosystem approach. Now, have we heard that term before? Yes, Aadhaar KYC, Aadhaar eKYC, that is there. Your UPI. Some of you would be tracking recently, there was an account aggregator model, which kind of brings your lending history together. So these are all examples of open digital infra, public digital infra that is a India first phenomena. It's very unique to the country. It's not seen anywhere in the world. In fact, some of these are being exported to the world. ABDM forms the next part of that chapter. We also tend to call this the whole thing an India stack. The ABDM at a very basic level has 4 pillars. One is a registry for doctors and healthcare providers and facilities. So today, as I mentioned, there is no way for you to find verified information about doctors and facilities. This will form a pillar of ABDM, a single source of truth where you can look up information that you need at the right time and at the right place. The second pillar is adoption of EMRs. This is like the digital record management system by doctors and healthcare facilities. This is an area where a lot of work has been done and a lot more work needs to be done. Also an area where a lot of questions get asked. कि मेरा डॉक्टर तो अभी भी पेपर पेंसिल से लिखता है. You know, it's so difficult to change the behavior of a doctor. We try to break this down into multiple parts. If you look at, you know, your pile of health records at home, what are the key records you will see? A vast majority of those records are diagnostic reports. And hey, they are already digitized. When was the last time you saw a pathology lab report or a radiology report which was handwritten? For some of you as young students, probably never. For some of us who are older, many, many years back or decades back. So there is some level of digitization that's already happened on that side. Your discharge summaries are digital. May not be codified medical terminology, but they are digital. So the work that needs to be done is on the front of the doctors and your indoor case papers. And that is where effort is being put in. But we are very, very optimistic that even those changes, and some of it has been thanks to COVID, are now coming through. And you will see this coming over the next couple of years, a lot more digitization that you'll see. The third pillar of ABDM, which is very, very relevant to you and me as individuals, is creation of an Aadhaar address. What is an Aadhaar address? I will take you to the example of UPI. You will have a UPI handle. It could be something like Sohit@OKICICI or something that you've created for yourself on your bank account. The Aadhaar address is exactly the same thing. You can create a health ID or an Aadhaar address which is unique to you. Whenever you go to a provider, you share that address with them. All the information that they generate for you gets tagged to that information. And then it is discoverable, or it is all possible to aggregate that information in one place. And that takes me to the fourth pillar of ABDM, which is this personal health record system. Till now, when I asked you about your medical information, you would proudly say it all lies in a cabinet at home. The X-rays and the MRIs go under the mattress. But how easy is it to A, find that information when needed and use it in a constructive or a meaningful manner? ABDM will allow you to do that. Have all your medical information in a digital format at one place, which then also can be built upon, not only in terms of referring to past reports, but seeing the health trends. So this is an open framework, as I said, that the government has created. But is it that the government is going to do everything and there is nothing left for others to do? The answer is no. And that is where I now again bring in the UPI example. ABDM or UHI is the UPI of healthcare. If you look at the diagrams we've shown here on the left and the right, you will see that there is a stark similarity between the two. So let me just kind of talk you through it. On the UPI framework, you have your various banks, who are the places who are like the providers or sources of your money in case of a transactional journey. All these banks are linked to a UPI gateway, which is run by NPCI. But for you, what matters then are these UPI apps. Google Pay, PhonePe, Paytm, they become so commonplace now, so mainstream that no longer do people say UPI karo. They just say Paytm karo or Google Pay. That's become Ma'am Bhatt also used the example that your sabzi wala tells you, hey, why don't you Google Pay me the money? This is your gateway into the UPI framework, these apps. What it has ensured is interoperability. I spoke about this word earlier. Interoperability means I have an account in SBI and Kaustubh has an account in ICICI. Neither of us needs to worry about where the account is, nor do we need to worry about the account details. All I need is a UPI handle. And thanks to these apps, that handle has become Kaustubh's mobile number. So all I do is just use his mobile number to transfer money to. Now let's go to healthcare. Exactly the same phenomena, just that the number of providers would be in another order of magnitude. So while if you have 200 banks linked to UPI framework today, you will have 70 odd thousand hospitals, 1.5 million doctors, and a few thousand labs that will plug into the UHI framework or the ABDM gateway. The gateway will be run by the National Health Authority to begin with, but all the innovation that is happening on top of it will be by private players. So the first of those innovations is like UPI apps, something called the personal health record apps. That is where I bring in the briefcase journey. In my introduction, Kaustubh mentioned that we were involved in the NDHM or the ABDM framework creation. So we actually helped design, as founders of Briefcase, the two of us helped design a part of the framework of ABDM. And now, as we speak, we are the first private PHR app to be integrated with ABDM. What that means is, going forward, you can use the Briefcase app to create your address, Aadhaar address, to give consents. Because mind you, with private information like health information, your consent is extremely important. Again, taking the UPI example, can your money move from your account to mine without you consenting? The answer is no. That's the same thing that will happen here. Your information cannot move from a SRL to a Manipal hospital unless until you consent to it. And you use the PHR app to do it. Lastly, this will become an app or a platform where you can aggregate all your health information. So imagine now you've gone to SRL, to Metropolis, to Manipal, to Apollo, or to different doctors, all that information coming at one place. The analytics being done on that for your purpose, for you to be able to see how your health trends are working. So this is the big change that I started talking about. Healthcare is changing. It is changing for good, and it will have a massive impact on our lives. Here's a vision we have of how healthcare delivery will get revolutionized as you go forward. Let's take an example of Sohit. Sohit is not feeling well and goes to, let's say, Hinduja Hospital in Mumbai to see a doctor. The doctor creates a prescription for Sohit, which has two parts to it. Some medical tests to be done and certain medications to be taken. That prescription, the moment it is generated, reaches a PHR app like Briefcase or any other PHR app. And because thanks to the open UHI network, because as I mentioned, it's not only healthcare information, even healthcare services are being made interoperable. So once you have that prescription on your app, you can use the app to seamlessly reach out to your preferred lab partner On a click of a few clicks, you can schedule your home sample collection. You can order medicine from there through your preferred players. It's all interoperable. It's not a closed system. It's an open architecture. And once the report is generated by your preferred partner, SRL, Metropolis, Thyrocare, Dr. Lal, you choose it. That report can be seamlessly shared back with the doctor, and you can have a follow-up consultation. And mind you, that consultation could be teleconsultation. So today, if you had to do teleconsultation, if the doctor is with Apollo, you need to be on Apollo app. If the doctor is with some other provider, you need to be on their app. UHI will open that up. And if I add the layer of insurance, all the bills generated from any of these players can be seamlessly shared with your insurance provider, and you can get an OPD insurance free. So ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take some time to just reflect on the healthcare journey we've been through in the past and the painful journey that we've been through due to COVID, and then imagine how that's going to change. That's the power of the ABDM and UPI. Bringing in the briefcase story in the middle of this. So, a lot of people ask us, what was the trigger of starting briefcase? As I mentioned, the healthcare journey in this country has been fairly painful on all counts, whether it is cost, access, and just the sheer inconvenience of it. Harsh and I, the two founders, we've had our own share of journeys, painful journeys. Fortunately for us, those happened around the same time, which got us thinking as to how you can improve this journey. And so in 2015, 2016, we actively started thinking about it and launched Briefcase in 2016, which was 6 years back. Samir spoke about the product market fit. Rohan spoke about how they started with some example and then other opportunities came about. We've taken our own share of time. It's been 5 years, 6 years, and a lot of questions being asked. Ki karna kya cha rahe ho? What are you trying to do before NDHM came about? And that was where the big opportunity came for us. Today, we can say that, as early movers in ABDM, and I'll again go back to the example Samir gave, it was difficult for him to compete with the print players who were selling it for 80 years. But with digital, it was easier because the game was new. With ABDM, the game is new. It's new for all the players, and we are as much an established or an incumbent party as providers who've been around for many, many years. So you see with ABDM, a lot is happening. We are trying to do our bit. So the government has already created the framework. Private innovators are creating their solutions. All your healthcare providers are at various stages of integrating. But there is one big missing piece. And that is my last message to you all here. What can you do to make this successful? Because unless and until the citizens of this country pick up ABDM or get linked to ABDM, it would not be successful. So it depends on all of us collectively to change our own lives for good. Just a few requests for you all as I sign off is to just read up more about ABDM. We have on our website, briefcase.com, a lot of information pertaining to that. Create your Aadhaar address. And there is a selfish motive for you to create that. And younger people may kind of identify more with it. When I created my email address on Gmail, this was about 15, 20 years back, I could happily get sohit.kapoor@gmail.com. Ask any person today whether they get the email address of their choice on Gmail, and the answer is no. The same thing will happen with your Aadhaar address. My Aadhaar address, ladies and gentlemen, is sohit@ndhm. I was one of the earlier guys to make it. I could get such a simple one. If you try to get it today, you may still be able to get the name of your choice, but later on, it will become tougher and tougher. And yes, it may seem like a fad today to have a nice sounding Aadhaar address, but imagine going forward where all your healthcare interactions require you to provide an address. A Sohit 10572 @NDHM will be very difficult to give and may lead to more complications. So do create your Aadhaar address today. Ask your friends to do that. And finally, ask your healthcare providers to join. So with that, I'll sign off now. But thanks a lot for your time, and super excited about the journey that all the startups, the innovators are taking in this country, and the change that we are seeing. Thank you.
Sohit, Samir here. One question. So to create the Aadhaar address, I can just download the Briefcase app and do it?
Yes. So as I said, we are the first private player to integrate into ABDM. So we are now, you can create your Aadhaar address on the Briefcase app. I'd say by weekend, we should have that app live and running. We got the final approvals yesterday itself.
Good
Wonderful.
timing. Yeah.
Great timing. Wonderful. Yeah. Can you? Yeah. I will just. Wonderful. Sohit, thank you very much for making it so simple and helping us understand through a simple analogy of something that we are used to, fintech. I mean, it's the same. So opportunities lie everywhere. How we take it, how we pick onto them is our skill. I mean, the way you talked about the ABDM health stack and the India health stack, so many opportunities there, but we just don't see them. Students are busy in the domain that they are in. Food order करना है तो चलो market बड़ा है, opportunity देखते हैं, but they don't look at a parallel opportunity using the same technology in another space where apparently the demand seems to be less, but it's a lot more value adding. It's a lot more futuristic. Thanks for that.
Yeah, Kaustubh, if we can make a point to that, it's again a personal journey for Harsh and me. We are neither medical professionals nor technologists. We were investment bankers who just kind of saw a need and just said we can try to create something. So message to the students is that, as Samir mentioned, there is definite value to having a skill set, and I would say problem solving is one of those skill sets. So, sometimes it also becomes about, are you able to, and, Rohan also alluded to it, are you able to see a problem and do you have a solution for that? So don't get bogged down by that. And this whole ecosystem is super democratic. It doesn't kind of box you into tight these things that you can do only this and not that. So, it's a world for you to go out and explore.
Absolutely. I mean, with that, you answered Jatin Khurana's question. Do MBA graduates with no engineering background have space in the innovation wave today or not? I think that question automatically gets answered.
My co-founder Harsh is a chartered accountant and an MBA.
and that beautifully ties up with how Poini ma'am started in the beginning of how platforms are democratizing opportunities, helping startups build on those basic innovations like the cell phone and the internet and things like that, and how the opportunities lie around, flying around everywhere. Just before kind of opening up into the questions, there are lots of questions. Can you see the questions in the chat window, all of you? Yeah, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, right. All right. So just I mean, just to kind of summarize everybody's discussion, we have just about 5 minutes left. New tech platforms are democratizing a lot of things, so lots of opportunities around. Regulations coming in also bring about a lot of opportunities. So students look at, keep your eyes, ears open about what's happening in the regulatory ecosystem. So basic triggers, which I could kind of quickly capture, were maybe how to increase convenience, how to increase equitability, how to increase availability, how to increase reach, and of course, cut costs. So these are some triggers that I could kind of pick up from the four of them. Open to you for the questions. Who would want to kind of take those questions with, any more questions from the audience? Somebody has asked Sohit a very specific question. What is the monetization model for Briefcase?
Sure. No, a great question, something that we keep getting asked a lot. Our approach to, the whole model going forward is, if you create a platform which is serving a need for the user, it will create multiple opportunities for you to, make money. Some of the monetization models, let me, quickly touch upon before we pass on to others, is, as I said, there is a platform which is sitting in the middle. where when the prescription comes, you can order, you can connect with your partners to, order medicines, to book lab tests. So there is a platform fees that can be, that can be generated out of that. And which could by itself, if you tie in the layer of OPD insurance or insurance, can become a meaningful model of monetization. The second piece is data monetization. And before people start kind of getting questions around how data monetization will happen, this is a very plain, simple data monetization for the user. As I said, today you have no way of being able to track your health history. But with a centralized platform, you will be able to not only see all your past health trends, but a meaningful analytics can be driven to also start predicting stuff for you. So if in my case, for example, my HbA1c over the last 5 years has gone from 5.4 to 5.9, still in the green range, but I would never notice it because it's such normal. Unless and until someone points it out to me that you are on a trend to become pre-diabetic soon if you don't watch out for it. So there are multiple places that you can tap into the user's healthcare journey with the user's consent, all in a privacy compliant manner, and create revenue models out of this. There are more models we have, which in a specific settings we can discuss those as well.
And, that ties up beautifully with what Rohan mentioned in that, the mother and child space, multiple opportunities can be spotted and revenue streams can be generated, provided you build the foundation first. Poini ma'am, one question for you, directly for you. In fact, all of you said that startups seem to be in a much better position to spot opportunities in the upcoming space, and it's been proven for a long time now. So what are the reasons why that happens? So I mean, I want you to inspire our students to get out of that mindset कि बाबा यार हमारे पास ना कोई resource नहीं है, कोई technology नहीं है, कोई नहीं है. So I would like to know from Poini ma'am first and then the others, of why do you feel startups are in a much better position to spot these opportunities and capitalize them?
I think there's no single answer to that, Kaustubh. Here is the case basically, you have now too many basically precedents in startup going successful in varied segment, right? And one success could basically create an opportunity. So for example, we talk about I think one of the speakers talk about 10 minutes delivery. Now, grocery was have e-commerce is such a common thing, and there are so many players. Zepto comes and talks about 10 minutes delivery. To be very honest, it may be a question or debatable point. Do you really need 10 minutes delivery or not? But there is an opportunity to create a position about your startup and you get into it, right? So that's one thing. And there are so many precedents. There are throwing many basically, confidence to spot even like very niche opportunity out there. That's one thing. Second thing is that there are, confidence, I would say. There were problems earlier. They are now. Earlier, perhaps confidence was not there because of lack of, mature ecosystem. Now you also see that basically, ecosystem where you see investors are willing to put in money, even in long gestation period kind of companies, very, very difficult. Space tech startup, they are getting funded. You don't know even what revenue and when it will come by, right? But they are getting funded. You see, government, it's one of the biggest champions these days when it comes to entrepreneurship. You see industry engaging with startup, most of the leading industry or corporates have their open innovation programs, right? So they are throwing basically their own problem statement, which becomes basically opportunity for them. So I don't know if there is a single answer to that. It's just that milieu, which is so conducive, and then startups and young entrepreneurs are becoming more mature at a very early stage. It is building. There is a confidence out there in execution, and there is a supportive ecosystem here.
And that kind of fits into what Mr. Ramanan talked about in his speech about the ecosystem coming up. Thanks, Poini ma'am. Any closing comments from anybody? Any of you, three of you?
So
Before we-
just a follow-up point to what ma'am was saying, I think the reason where startups can see opportunity and large corporates sometimes find it difficult to do is I'd say lack of options. As startups, that is our, in the sense, that's the core focus. We've all grown up. If you look at our examples of startups and the 3 ones that ma'am spoke about, that was their reason for existence, that they saw an opportunity, grew into it. For large corporates, they've already found that space where they are making money. So very few organizations are actually able to build that culture internally. You can take an example of Google, for example, or Amazon, who've still gone out and created businesses in newer areas. The Google Pay came out of the Google architecture, but to replicate that culture is, according to me, a bit tougher. And Samir also mentioned that in large organizations, they become slow moving because there are so many processes, there are so many people to take along. Decision making becomes slow. If you asked any of the 3 of us, how many people does it take to take a decision, even the biggest decision, and it'll be hardly 2 or 3 people. Like we have to, let's say, change the way we talk about Briefcase name. Change it. It'll take only Harsh and me to decide that. In a large organization, if I was to call it rebranding, that rebranding becomes a multi-month or a multi-quarter kind of project.
Yeah, thanks for that. Rohan, Samir, any closing comments? Either
Yeah.
of you? Anyone? Yeah.
Yeah, I think Shobhit actually rightly told that we as a startup, we don't have any option. We need to innovate. Otherwise, we will be nowhere into the market. And specifically, like in healthcare also, if you talk in our industry, because Shobhit will understand, because he is interacting with those people. Those are big sharks. You are right now, the Shark Tank might came up, but those are big sharks into the market in healthcare. So in all, if you see in last 2 years, there are lots of innovation which is came up into our sector, which is healthcare. People might not know these things prior to COVID or the lockdown, because healthcare was always seen as not so very good industry, but it's having a very good opportunities, and those processes are, I can tell you, the processes are very outdated. So there are a lot of opportunities in technology companies in healthcare, and it is actually helping both the sides, means the people who are the service providers and for the consumers. Actually, if you see, there is nothing there into the market. So I like to congratulate Shobhit for his work, what he started.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Rohan. Samir, anything from your side? Last closing comments?
No, I think just go ahead and do it. There's nothing else to say there.
Yeah. Thanks everyone. And the message to students, trouble your career placement cell a little less. Do something on your own. I think that's what I would take from here. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you, Poini ma'am. Thank you, Sohit. Thank you, Rohan. Thank you, Samir. And thank you, Professor Murthy and Dr. Vaishali Patil for organizing this event. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Yeah. Thanks, Kaustav.
Thank you so much.
It was a really great session. I'm getting a lot of the parallel chats from students, appreciating the proceedings, and I must immensely thank Poini Bhatt Madam, Sohit, and Samir and Rohan